Welcome everyone to another edition of Willow's Weather Briefing. Today is Wednesday, June 18th, 2025. Our very lengthy severe weather sequence is coming to a close soon, but not before a cold front moves through the east and causes more severe weather throughout the lower Great Lakes into the Ohio River Valley, along with some excessive rainfall associated with this convection. Fire weather and heat continues throughout the inner west, but the heat will soon transfer over to the plains and eventually to the broader eastern U.S. by the weekend into early next week. A substantial heat wave is expected with temperatures around 20 degrees above average for a lot of the Midwest and eastern U.S. We are also monitoring some severe chances over the northern plains and northern Great Lakes from late week onwards. So here is our severe storm reports from yesterday's event. We have scattered hail, wind, and tornado reports across the high plains, but of course our highest concentration of reports is over here around our moderate risk. Our moderate risk region kind of shunted to the southeast because of the movement of that outflow boundary, which was our impetus for severe weather. And then with western extent, we have a lot more hail reports, and with eastern extent, we have a lot more wind reports, which is what we kind of expect when storms grow upscale into more bowing segments. We had some pretty powerful winds throughout this region. I saw some pretty impressive radar returns over there. We also have some flash flood reports over here in the Wichita region, but our main concentration of flash flood reports was actually here in western Pennsylvania, cities like Pittsburgh, Johnstown, Indiana, Pennsylvania. They had a large concentration of flash flood reports over there. So here's our drought monitor map. The solid lines demarcate the areas of greatest concern with droughts. The map is kind of glitched. It's kind of translated a little bit to the east, but try your best to interpolate what's going on there. Here is our current watches and warnings. We have an extreme heat warnings for portions of the southwest. We also have some flash flood or flood watches still in effect for southern Kansas into northern Oklahoma. We have some flash flood warnings throughout some of the rivers over here, and even some severe thunderstorm warnings still in effect over here in central Oklahoma. Also, we have red flag warnings across portions of the west that includes a lot of Utah and even over here in central Washington. Here is a look at our surface fronts. We currently have a frontal boundary situated over here in the central plains, but a low pressure system will form over here and then make its way to the northeast. That will cause this cold front to move off to the east and be the impetus for our severe weather here in the lower Great Lakes region down to the Ohio River Valley and mid-Mississippi River Valley. This will also come with a flooding concern for any trailing rainfall or convection. This front will move off to the east and then cause an additional threat of severe weather and excessive rainfall further off to the east. But once that cold front moves out of the area, we will get a shift in the pattern here by the weekend. This upper level ridge will set up and then bring us high pressure throughout much of the eastern United States, which will bring us that heat wave that I was talking about earlier. But also, it will bring another low pressure system over here in the northern plains that will lift way up here into the Canadian Shield because of that ridge is kind of blocking the transport of the low pressure system southward. So we will possibly see some severe weather over here in the northern tier of the U.S., the upper Great Lakes and the northern plains by the end of the weekend into early next week. So here is our excessive rainfall outlook. We have two areas of main concern, one over here in the Great Lakes region and one over here along the Ohio River Valley into the mid to southern Mississippi River Valley. Great Lakes going to be our main concern. Rainfall likely to be around 3 inches up to 5 inches locally around this region. And down here, over here, it's around 2 to 3 inches of rainfall these regions. Day 2, marginal risk of excessive rainfall associated with the cold front and the convection with that lifting mechanism. Day 3 over here, we'll see the low pressure system start to form in the northern plains and then move off to the upper Great Lakes region. Then day 5, we have no excessive rainfall forecasted as of now. Here is our day 1 fire weather outlook. Elevated fire risk over here in central Washington. Day 2 fire weather risk critical for western Nevada and then the Nevada-Utah border vicinity. And then this hasn't been updated just yet, but day 3 will actually be the day 4 risk. So um, western Nevada and also the Four Corners region up towards Salt Lake City. And then day 5 risk is going to be again around the Four Corners region and then across northern Arizona into much of Utah and western Colorado. So I want to touch on our first hurricane in the North American vicinity, Hurricane Eric. This has actually strengthened pretty well and is forecasted to be very close to major hurricane strength, about 110 miles an hour as it impacts the western Mexico coast. So if you happen to know anyone in this area, in this region, Acapulco is around here. So if you know anyone in this region, please be aware that our first hurricane of the season, possibly major hurricane, will impact this coastal region. So here is our severe thunderstorm outlook. We have an enhanced risk throughout southeastern Missouri into southern Michigan. Broader slight risk exists around the Red River region up to the Great Lakes. This enhanced risk is primarily for damaging wind, but large hail is also possible and perhaps a few tornadoes in this 5% risk region over here. This includes cities like Chicago, Detroit, Indianapolis, Fort Wayne. The broader enhanced risk includes cities like Louisville, Dayton, Ohio. Our day 2 slight risk as our cold front moves off to the east includes much of the East Coast, includes cities like New York City, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Charlotte. This is primarily for a damaging wind risk. The other hazards are pretty low. And our day 3 outlook as we get that low pressure system to form off into the high plains. Slight risk for much of the northern Great Lakes into northern plains. This includes cities like Minneapolis, St. Paul, Fargo, and Minot, North Dakota. And a no extended range severe weather outlook. Here is our heat risk for the upcoming days. Right now, we still have above average temperatures across the southwest, and that will continue off until tomorrow. And we also have above average temperatures over here around the eastern coastal plain, especially North Carolina. Temperatures well into the 90s over there, and temperatures over here in the southwest around 100 to 110 degrees for most of these regions, especially in the Sonoran Desert. Temperatures around 110 degrees, with eastern extent around 100 degrees into the Chihuahuan Desert region. As we go into tomorrow, both regions, or rather, the eastern region will deplete while the southwestern region, especially the Sonoran Desert region down here, will increase in heat just a little bit, and also portions of the basin and plateau, while heat starts to build in the Central Plains region. By Friday, heat will deplete in both the east and the west a little bit, while heat begins to build in the Central Plains. The temperatures around here by late week into the weekend should surpass 100 degrees in the Central Plains. The heat doesn't become widespread, however, until the weekend, where by Sunday, heat will overspread much of the Midwest, Great Lakes region and then start to overcome the east. Most of these regions, the purple ones, the purple regions are just areas that are more above average than the others. So don't pay too much attention to the colors here. Just know that it will be hot pretty much everywhere you see the orange, reds, and purples. Just the purples going to be way more above average than the rest. So here in the Central Plains, still around 100 degrees. Over here around the Midwest region, just about the Corn Belt, we will see temperatures well into the 90s, possibly mid 90s over here. And same thing over here we'll possibly see up to mid 90 degrees temperatures over here around the East Coast, especially by early week. By next Tuesday, we'll see mid 90s temperatures pretty much throughout this region, maybe reaching 100 degrees in some localized areas. And that is certainly reflected over here in the extended range hazards outlook, basically hazardous heat all over the eastern US. Some regions of heavy rain associated with what we call ridge riders. There's going to be enhanced flow just moving along this ridge that is causing our excessive temperatures in this region. So we'll see some precipitation associated with that, but the heat is going to be our main story throughout the eastern US. But also some high wind concerns over here in the west, which will be the cause for our elevated fire weather risk. Here is our 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. That ridge is definitely reflected in this outlook here, much above average, almost certain over here in the east, while below average temperatures for the west associated with a trough ridge pattern here. And our 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook, we have above average precipitation over here around the Chihuahua Desert and also the Great Lakes, below average for the mid Atlantic into the Delmarva region. So here is our HREF outlook. This is what I look at to gauge the timing of our storms. Now let's look at the beginning of our time frame here. Certain in terms of timing, even though we are pretty close to the event. But what I like to pay attention to is our quote unquote best models, I suppose. That's going to be our crimson looking model over here. Also, our green model, that's the HRRR, and NAM convective allowing models. They show storms forming along the risk area, maybe around 2 p.m. and then move off to the east and then overspread the risk concern by the late afternoon into early evening hours. So that is going to be it for today. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe. And of course, comment if you have any constructive criticisms. If you want any specific information regarding your area, please refer to your local National Weather Service or broadcast meteorologists. Thank you and have a great day.